Welcome to Lemora's Cards. I'm Matthew, and this is another episode of Learn to Play, where I have experienced members of the community come on to teach you about one of their decks. If you enjoy this video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or supporting me on Patreon, like these amazing patrons did, so I can make more of these and make them better for you, as well as get access to perks like early videos and getting in games with me. With all that being said, let's pass it over to this episode's guest.
Hi, I am Lauren, MTG_hotdog. I am a Commander player, cEDH player, Twitter shit poster. I like going to events, I like hanging out, I play a lot of Magic. Tymna Blue Farm is a turbo ad nauseum deck. It aims to leverage card advantage and resolve an ad nauseum as quickly as possible to quickly win via Thassa's Oracle combo with Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact, or with Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, and Brain Freeze combos to quickly close out the game as fast as possible. Both of the commanders, both Tymna and Crom, are card value engines in the command zone. Tymna in a perfect world can draw you 3 cards per turn. Crom can draw 12 cards in a rotation if everything goes your way. So that's 15 extra cards per turn cycle just from what you have in the command zone. This deck wants to draw a lot of cards. It wants to draw a lot of cards quickly and efficiently with things like Mystic Remora and Rhystic Study. You have a lot of fast mana available to you to help you develop your board state quicker than your opponents, and you also have a lot of counter magic to help protect your board development, help protect your commanders, and of course protect your win cons. One of the primary win cons of this deck is Thassa's Oracle. Thassa's Oracle ETB on the stack, hold priority, cast Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact, you exile your library, you win the game. The other primary win condition in this deck is through Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, and Brain Freeze. The easiest way to get that going is you crack Lion's Eye Diamond for blue. You will quickly build up your storm count by repetitiously casting it from your graveyard as you're casting Brain Freeze with a Underworld Breach in play. You'll then proceed to mill your library, looping a very high storm count. You can then, if you have leftover mana, mill everyone else's library with the high storm count, and then resolve a Thassa's Oracle from your graveyard. If you don't have Thassa's Oracle, say it gets exiled, Praetor's Grasp, etc., you can win via partially milling yourself out, and then winning via wheel by Brain Freezing all of your opponent's libraries, and then wheeling, forcing them to draw, and in turn losing the game. One of the easiest ways to get that combo assembled is through Intuition. The main Intuition targets are going to be Sevinne's Reclamation, Lion's Eye Diamond, and Underworld Breach. This presents a win-win-win situation. Intuition is a very resilient card. It's a very powerful card in the deck. It can be hard to resolve. It's a little overwhelming at first, but once you have your lines and you know targets that you are searching for, one of the pieces is already in your graveyard, you can set up your combo even better with grabbing a Brain Freeze. That will allow you to have all your pieces available to you without having to dig, and then you can start Brain Freezing everyone and win the game. This deck is very fast, or it can be very fast. If you have a perfect hand, you can win turn 1. Those are pretty lucky hands, though. It's not often you see those. This deck wants to have a turn 1, you have a way to start generating card value. Esper Sentinel, Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, those will start drawing you cards. Those are on par with our game plan. Turn 2, you want to have a Tymna or Crom. That's really going to push you there, start really getting card value. Then turn 3, turn 4, I would say is a sweet spot for a typical win. The complicated part, I feel, with Blue Farm is there's a lot of opportunities to pivot given on who's in the pod, what's available to you. This deck has a lot of decision points. It wants to outvalue your opponents and it wants to win very quickly. If you don't have that available to you, sometimes that's not the worst thing in the world. If you have counter magic and you have a way to protect yourself for a longer game, it does have a lot of pivot points for grindier games and grindier matchups. It wants to be on its game plan at the beginning of the game, and it wants to maintain that game plan throughout. I think one of the biggest hurdles to learning how to play this deck is knowing when to pivot and knowing when to change your lines or change what you're going to want to do to win the game. I know when I was newer playing this, I had a real resistance to Underworld Breach combos because it was newer and it took a few more cards. It took a little bit more setup. It took a little bit more finesse. That was a little intimidating to me. I found myself losing games because I was sitting back. I was relying on the Thassa's Oracle combo because it's tried and true. It wins games. And I was losing because of that, because I wasn't seeing the board state. I wasn't reading my hand properly or what decision points I had available to me properly. I was playing suboptimally because I was too hesitant or scared to try that combo or to try to win in a different way than what I was comfortable with. It can be a complicated deck. It can be a little overwhelming for new players. There's 4 colors, and the more cards you have access to, I feel, the more decisions have to be made. I think it's a fantastic deck if you're new because you are playing those cards. You can resolve them and functionally see how they work and feel and really get an idea idea for your play style that way. I think no deck is for everyone, and I think that is healthy, and I think that's great for the format. If you play this, you're like, this isn't my play style, I think that's super sick to have that as a takeaway. Like, that's how we learn and the format grows. One of the biggest hurdles for me to be better in cEDH was to mulligan better. I feel like there was a lot of times where I was keeping okay sevens and not wanting to risk the second mulligan, which you get a free mulligan, or I would have a bad 7 and not want to go to 6 because I didn't want to be down a card. I think knowing your deck, knowing what you want to do, if you're on the ad nause lines of blue farms, you're going to want a lot of fast mana in your opening hand. You're going to want to try to mulligan to find that fast mana. Blue farm right now, I feel like, is in a transitionary period where a lot of the decks are becoming increasingly more mid-range. If you are interested in blue farm and don't want a turbo Nas, you're going to want to find hands that are going to match your game style better. You're going to want the turn 1 Drannith Magistrate or whatever. I have won games where I've mulled to 4. I have lost games where I've kept a bad 7. And I think just knowing your deck, knowing what the pod is, reading a room, and understanding functionally what your deck can do given the circumstances of turn order, and your mulligans are going to be better. Your win rate will increase just based on mulliganing better. It is slow. You're not going to be getting out Tymna or Crom any faster. You're going to have 1 mana up on turn 3 after casting a Tymna. 3 lands is a little heavy, 2 mana rocks is a little heavy. Like, if that Talisman of Dominance was a mana crypt, for instance, and I mana crypt into Arcane Signet, and then Spire of Industry could tap for any color mana or have counter magic, I would keep that. This, I think, is just too slow, and I would not keep this hand. I would mulligan this hand. I'm pretty greedy when it comes to turn 1 Mystic Remoras, especially if I am the first player. You're going to draw probably 1 to 2 cards per player. Probably. I mean, there's no guarantees, right? People could just play responsibly. You have removal, so if someone gets like a Drannith or something, if I am going 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, I think I keep this as well. I have the Gemstone Caverns in play. I can be disruptive with a Chain of Vapor. I think you Gemstone Caverns exiling the Watery Grave, and then you Mystic Remora. You have 1 mana up for Chain of Vapor. You're hopefully going to draw cards. Rite of Flame will also help, because if you can get 1 mana source, you have a turn 2 Crom. I like it. I think I keep it. It has a lot of mana. It's very explosive. You are doing a lot very quickly. You have a combo piece in your hand. You have the ability to find your other combo piece in your hand, and you can easily get out your commanders. And even if you don't crack the Lotus Petal turn 1, you Ancient Tomb into Felwar Stone. Then the next turn, you Ancient Tomb into Mana Vault, Lotus Petal into Crom. You have a turn 2 Crom. That's going to draw you some cards, hopefully some counter magic, and then hopefully you're winning the turn after, drawing into some color-producing lands. But I think this is a great opener. This is stuff I like to see. I think stack decks are the hardest matchup for Blue Farm. Rule of Law effects are really backbreaking. Drannith Magistrate's really backbreaking. Even like Dothy Voidwalker is very hard to play against. Not only am I getting those things exiled and not getting them back, I'm giving it to my opponent, which I don't want to do. Any decks that aim to be disruptive or stacksy are very, very hard to play against. Blue Farms is also bad against creature-centric decks. Creatures really hamper our ability to attack with Tymna. You can't enter combat with a lot of effective creatures, things with reach, things with flying. So those can shut down our game plan quite a bit. Where Blue Farm thrives is against slower decks, decks that take a little bit longer to get their board state set up, decks that are running less fast mana. Blue Farm does well against not having its things countered. Like non-blue decks, Blue Farm does, I think, well against. Blue Farm also does well playing first and just being able to turbo and generate its own advantage. This deck's an incredible amount of fun to play. It's a fantastic way to play powerful cards and learn the format. I think a lot of people have heard of Blue Farm without playing cEDH, and if this is a deck that you're interested in, please go for it. You are playing a lot of powerful cards in this deck, and I think it's a very good way, even if you're playing this just as like an exploratory way of getting into cEDH, you're playing very powerful cards in a very synergistic sort of way, and it's very, very useful to help learn the format. There's going to be no cards that really ever feel bad. That was one of my first experiences in playing Blue Farm when I switched over to this deck. Was every card felt good. I always felt impactful. I consider Blue Farm to be the current like meat and potatoes sort of deck, right? It does everything that cEDH wants to do. It is playing powerful cards. A lot of people play it, so you can talk to a lot of people about it. The availability of 4 colors lends itself to having a lot of customizability based on your play style. The version that I play is different than the version that just won at Okotober. That is a mid-range one, whereas this is a Turbo Nas. There's so much variation in those colors. If you want a cEDH deck that's going to play your commanders, generate a lot of card value, it is a great deck, and it's a great introduction if you're brand spanking new to cEDH, and it is an incredible amount of fun, and I really hope you enjoy it.